Testing connectivity should be one of the first items in your troubleshooting toolkit to ensure connections are speaking to one another. Now, there are two primary ways to do this. One by pinging another host, and by trying to resolve their IP address by DNS. There are more advanced ways to do this, but this is where we'll start. Additionally, consider that DNS record lookups also act as a great fingerprint record to validate and verify the identity and ownership of an address or host. So let's dive in. So what is ping? Let's find out. Well, ping is actually a command to encapsulate an ICMP echo request with a unique ID within an IP packet and send it to its destination. It operates on layer 3 and does not rely on TCP or UDP as such. So let's go ahead and ping 10.10.0.5, our Windows workstation. If the receiver can be contacted successfully, it'll do the same in reverse, except it'll send an ICMP echo reply. And that's what we're seeing here. And this process is lightning fast. So it'll actually just keep on going forever now within Linux. And in Windows, it'll actually do this for 4 times by default. So in Linux, if we wanted to do this in a set amount of ping requests, we would add a tac-c for count, and let's set it to 5 and try to fire that off again. Great, and that's really ping. And look, it may not work if a firewall or security group is blocking it. So you can't trust this as 100% accurate all the time, but it's a good tool in your diagnostics toolkit to make sure you have connectivity. Okay, so the next tool, what is NSLookup? Let's see what it is. This is to query internet name servers interactively, or in other words, it will resolve names to IP addresses. So let's actually run NSLookup, and notice the prompts that are going to appear here. This is because it by default runs interactively. So we can type things here and write whatever we like. But let's actually check google.com. Let's see what happens if we put www.google.com here instead. Cool, so that worked. We actually got some IP addresses, and look, it actually referred to us, our local host, as our DNS server, because we don't have one configured. But we did get an IP address for google.com, 172.253.122.147. And that's because eventually it was able to query the authoritative DNS servers for google.com itself. So let's actually try to navigate to google.com by that IP address and see what happens. Awesome, so yeah, that worked. That's actually the IP address for google.com, or one of them. And these IPs rotate, so that's not always going to be the IP address for google.com. Okay, well, let's hop out of interactive mode so we can just perform some individual requests and break out of that, clear the terminal, and this time we can actually just run NSLookup with a tac type request. And let's try to query the name server or the NS records for leveleffect.com. And let's see what the output looks like. Cool, so this is one of the name server records. We can actually see that it is related to HubSpot. That is where our website belongs. So we got some more information about this specific site. Let's try looking up an SOA record or start of authority record, and let's go for a new website. Let's check out maybe twitter.com and see what kind of interesting information we can find there. Okay, cool. So some interesting results have been returned. We can actually see the origin site, the mail address, we have the serial number and the refresh time, and we also see the expiration time. So the SOA record is pretty important as it acts as the authoritative source of information for the domain. So that's how you would query records inside of NSLookup. And we also have another tool inside of Linux that's pretty powerful, and it's called dig. And dig provides a lot of information at once that's really useful, all the common needs. So let's check it out. If we do a dig on leveleffect.com, and I think that you'll find the information to be a little bit more human readable, and also it provides some of the more common information right away. We get the CNAME, A records, we get IP resolution, we get connectivity. So that's helpful instead of individual queries. And honestly, you'll use both. You're not always just going to be locked to one DNS type of tool. So let's now take a look at one last tool, and this is actually in the browser, and this is a really powerful one. It's called Domain Dossier. So let's open up our browser now and navigate to domaindossier.com and see just how powerful it is. It really does a lot of legwork for us. Let's check it out. Cool. So I already have leveleffect.com inside of here. You can go and populate yours, but you can choose additional options. You can get DNS records, whois records, even traceroute as well too, to see the general time. And that's it. That's a quick query. And just check out the length of information you get all at once. You generally get all of your IP addresses that can be resolved. You get a full listing of who is in ownership of the domain as well too, contact information, expiration. We can even check out the name servers. So the name servers were returned to us as well too, instead of being queried that we don't normally see on other tools. We can get domain identification records, and then take a look at all these DNS records just dumped for us, right? We can see C names. We have A records over here as well too. We have MX records. We have SOA records. We have just about everything we need, all possible DNS records around the domain that we would possibly be interested in. So that's really cool. Like I said, really powerful, everything at once, great snapshot, great for testing, great for debugging, and even that traceroute connectivity test at the end to see the various hops to figure out how we got these records as well. Great, so now we know how to debug and test and verify connectivity for IP addresses and DNS resolution.